Welcome back to Fast Market here on the TD Ameritrade Network. Let's get to our next big tech name, and that's Apple. So let's bring in our next guest, and that's going to be, for our Cash Tech segment, that's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just mentioning to Kevin, it seems like Apple's been kind of lost in the weeds. This is typically the biggest name we talk about going into quarterly results. The stock's only up 3% today, only, I say, because some of the other big tech names are up pretty significantly. What kind of data are you guys seeing on a LikeFolio? Because I know they had supply chain disruptions, hurt sales in the holiday shopping season, but is demand still out there according to your data?
Yeah, I think, Apple, the market's expecting growth to slow, and, we kind of have to agree with that, but maybe not to the extent the market expects. I think the China shutdowns hurt Apple. This current quarter, from a LikeFolio perspective, in terms of consumer demand, really not that hot. But I do think that where Apple is getting its traction is in the right places, and that's on its iPhones and it's Apple TV, the two places where they're really building out a massive ecosystem of services revenue. And every time someone gets one of those devices that didn't have one before, you've got a new, repeat buyer, a new revenue stream for years and years to come on the services side, which I think is Apple's big bet and has been for a while. It's been paying off. And so, I think iPhones and Apple TV look pretty hot. The computer side of the business may be a little soft. Apple Watch a little softer than we would have liked to have seen. But overall, I think that Apple continues to build its value proposition for the consumer in a really strong way. And that really shows through in our data when we look at the number of people talking about switching to an iPhone, generally speaking, from an Android device. And if you look at that divide, it's really sharp. It's as sharp as we've seen in a long time. In fact, they converted my brother Landon after 7 or 8 years of me having to look at his stupid green bubble texts and him messing up all the group texts. They finally converted him, and I think he's one of many. So they're really nailing down what matters, and that is as many people in their ecosystem as possible, because their services business just gets better and better. I don't know about you guys, but I love it when I go to a website and it says check out with Apple Pay. And I know that I'm a couple clicks away from them already having all of my details, my delivery address, and payment going through. I think Apple's doing a fantastic job. It's a little slower than other companies, but they're getting it right every step of the way, and I think it'll pay off long term.
Andy, this is an ecosystem that just keeps getting stronger. And 2022 brought, just like we would think, Apple overtaking the Android as the most popular phone. They went over 50%. Landon Swan might have been the one that took them over the top, for all we know. But this is a company that is still going to be reliant on the iPhone. And a growing part is the services, and you're right, Andy. The portfolio of products that I look on your graph there that you gave us, and you gave us 6 products. I have every single one of them, right? Full disclosure, I have every single one, and a couple I have 2 of. So they get you in your ecosystem, and that ecosystem just keeps getting stronger. Now, short term, they had production problems in November, and some of the deliveries, they had insufficient supply for the deliveries, but they're bringing so much of their production in-house that I think even that could start getting better. But what else do you see? What are we missing here with Apple? Is this just a stock that every time it comes down, you should be patient and then buy it? What are we missing here, Andy?
Yeah, no, I think that's the story of Apple, since I think probably 2002, somewhere in there. That's been the story. Is every time there's a dip, you've got to be patient, and you've got to buy Apple, and you'll be rewarded in the long term. I think that's what's going on now, and I think even in the short term, that's probably the strategy. Look, this stock was in the low 140s. What was it, 2 days ago, and now we're cracking 150. So that's a tough situation going into earnings on a stock that you want to own for the long term. I think This is a situation where we agree that there are some headwinds for Apple in the short term. We think those probably come through in this earnings report. Officially we're neutral, but since the stock has run up so much, I think the risk is probably more to the downside on earnings. And so we look for opportunities if the company does get a downdraft after earnings to start dipping our toes back again in the low 140s.
Yeah, Andy, I agree with you about the Apple Pay. I've seen that pick up on, when I bought stuff online. Over the last 2 or 3 months, it's really picked up pretty significantly, and it is a nice feature. Is that part of the happiness that you're seeing? You've got that other chart that says they're outperforming the Android devices, and once they get you into that ecosystem, it's hard to get you out of. They just offer you more products. So are you seeing those happiness levels going forward higher than, that you've seen historically?
Yeah, it's just always been strong, and you hit the nail on the head. Apple sucks you into their ecosystem one way or another, whether it's because all of your friends are annoyed with you for ruining the group chat with the green bubbles, or because you're going to websites that it would be so much easier to check out if you had Apple Pay. And both of those ecosystems are growing, and both of those are viral, positive feedback loops for the company that they're building out in a really strong kind of billion-person way. That kind of reminds me of, kind of the Facebook, Instagram type of marriage, where everyone that gets on this ecosystem is more likely to bring the next person on, and Apple has a way of monetizing all of those people, whether it's through hardware or services, over and over again for decades to come. It's just one of the best companies in the world, and you got to keep an eye on it and look for opportunities when they miss the mark in the short term and Wall Street reacts negatively.
Yeah, now the stock's run up from about 124 at the start of the year up near 150 now. You guys mentioned you have an earnings score neutral for this company going into the report.
Yeah, it's neutral, and we put it out on Monday. So, now it's 10 points higher. I think we probably lean a little bit bearish, but again, that's just in the short term.
Yeah, and Meta proved that.
Price sensitive.
Yeah, Meta proved that even though the stock ran up ahead of earnings, it didn't matter because that stock is overbought on every technical level that I see. All right, great stuff as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, breaking down the data. I